All right, we're rolling. Aloha and welcome to the Nako Exchange Boots, Wings, and More podcast series for the State of Hawaii Department of Defense. Today I have a very special guest, and we're also doing this one a little differently, sir. So this is a first time that we're running it as a crew without one of our main people working behind the scenes. So we kind of got this set going. Welcome. I'd like to welcome Major General Roy Macaraeg, former guardsman, and I say former because he retires in 2 days. But we're going to go ahead and ask him some questions about his career, some insights, and kind of dig in and get some good stuff before he heads off into retirement. So, sir, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So, looking back at 3 decades of service, what stands out to you as some of your defining moments during your career?
Yeah, that's there's a lot. There's a lot there. I think we can start with basic training. So basic training, let me tell you, it was the first time I actually traveled outside Hawaii, and it was an eye opening. Flying to St. Louis, taking a bus ride, 4-hour bus ride to
Leonard Wood.
Fort Leonard Wood, yeah, Missouri, and it just opened my worldview after basic training. I came back. So I actually joined when I was still a junior in Farrington High School, and came back. This whole new perspective of the world.
What made you join as a junior?
Initially, I started thinking about what I'm gonna do after high school, and I'm number 5 out of 6 kids, and I'm looking for a way to actually pay for my college. Planning to go to University of Hawaii, and I knew my parents, by the time they get to me, they actually didn't have the resources to actually support me. So thinking ahead, primary reason was to pay for college. And my family is a family of, military service. My brother was actually active duty Army when I joined. My brother was also active duty Air Force, who eventually actually came back, and they both retired out of the Hawaii National Guard. Yeah, Hawaii Air National Guard.
Hawaii Air National Guard. No,
That's right.
no. They got a great program on that side, and a lot of people go from blue to green, green to blue. So would you say your family was a heavy influence on making that decision, or was it more school-based, or a combination of both?
It was a combination. We're a family that served. My uncle served, World War II, Vietnam. He was in the Navy. My cousin was also was in the Army. He went to Vietnam veteran. So we got service in our blood and family.
A lot of stories there. Now, you began your career in 1990. That's when you went to basic training, and then you joined. Then you went off and went to the Hawaii Military Academy Officer Candidate School 6 years later. How did both of those instances kind of shape or guide you the rest of the way?
Yeah, when I first joined, initially I said, okay, 6 years, I'm out. Of course, along the way, as you go through your career, you actually meet, a lot of people, and I joined the, 47, right, the Hikino Battalion. Had a lot of great NCOs there, and getting to my ETS date, right, a year prior, I talked to then Command Sergeant Major Inouye, and we had multiple conversation about, okay, so what's next. I was dead set on getting out of the Army, and he convinced me. He actually, I think, put the packet together for me. And
Did you already go to school? Were you in school at the time?
I was still going through UH at the same time. I had the appropriate number of credits, and went through OCS, going through UH at the same time, and I was about a year out from graduating UH Manoa, and I was dead set on just getting out. But with the leadership in the 47, then I even talked to Lieutenant Colonel Kilanui. He was the battalion commander, and he goes, "No, Roy, you should continue. You have a great future in the Army and Army National Guard." And I think that's what makes a difference, in anybody's life or career. It's the people that actually see something in you.
And they have an interest in what you're doing and
Yes.
provide choices.
Yes.
I mean, it ultimately comes down to you. So they laid out options. And if they didn't do that, you would have been,
I would have been doing something
you're
else.
out.
Yeah.
And then how did OCS, when you took that officer level in 96, how did that help?
Yeah,
What was that like?
that kind of add on to, I guess, my progression in terms of, my style in leadership. I go back though, like maybe 3 years before OCS. One of the most, impactful courses was when I attended PLDC in Camp Williams, Utah.
As an enlisted?
As enlisted. So I went there. It's your first, professional military education as a leader, and a lot of the concepts that I actually learned there, I carried through my entire career. And one concept was, they call it 3 M's. It's mission, men, myself. And it kind of, morph and, kind of like develop. And then along the way, I kind of refined it to my own. And now, we can talk a little bit more about that later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you've had leadership positions both in Hawaii and at the national level. How did your perspective shift when you moved from the tactical field commands and being in the Hawaii Guard up to the Pentagon and NGB?
I had the opportunity to actually make that change 7 times. Yeah, 7 times. I counted, how many times I went back and forth between Hawaii and the National Guard Bureau and the Pentagon and Department of DA. It was, big shifts, right? So, when you're coming from Hawaii, then going to the national level at National Guard Bureau, it's a totally different environment. The culture is, totally different. The tempo of the work is totally different. You go from tactical to strategic. In DC, you're running about 200 miles per hour, right? You come back here, DC, people think in minutes and seconds. Here it's, you have a little bit more time in terms of, looking forward and ahead. But I'll tell you though, it's, I did it 7 times, and it was actually incremental, right? So, I went to NGB when I was a lieutenant. Then I came back as a captain during the first deployment for the brigade, OIF 3. Went back again, came back for battalion command. And each time I switch, that experience actually just carried through. So by the time I got to be a general officer, coming back from, brigade command after the Kosovo deployment, back to be the Army Guard G4 and G9, then eventually be the G1. The culmination of all the experience kind of just, gave me all the tools I needed to lead, just huge organizations.
Sounds like a perfect balance. You came back and it's changes in ranks. The timing just really worked out for you. Was there anything that you took from Hawaii every time you went up there, and anything you took from DC coming back home?
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of reflection on it. And yes, every time I came back, it's, whenever I came back from, Washington, D.C. to Hawaii, the big key takeaways every time I come back was, that connection with soldiers, and just, with the people who are actually, doing the work on the ground. And then when I return to, the Pentagon or National Guard Bureau, I bring that perspective back. So that when we actually, start developing policies, that impacts units and impacts, the Army organizations, I always had that perspective, and it truly grounds me, and I think it truly balanced me, as you said. So.
I think, yeah, that experience really helped shape officers. And I know yourself and other officers that went up there have always told people in Hawaii, don't just stay in Hawaii. If you have the opportunity, go. Is that something you would share?
Yeah, I absolutely would tell people, if you have the opportunity to actually, do a tour in the National Guard Bureau or the Pentagon itself, Department of the Army or Department of, War, it's valuable because, once you have that experience, right, you're given added lenses on how you actually view, certain things and certain things that you got to do, whether it's in the unit or, at a bigger organization.
Okay. Now, you commanded, we mentioned it, in both Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Joint Guardian in Kosovo. How did both of those missions kind of influence your views on coalition operations and dealing with multinational forces?
I'll tell you, Jeff, we need them. We need our allies and partners. This is a very dangerous world. And, all the conflicts, if you look back, I think, having good relationship with our, allies and partners, it's key to our, strategic advantage. Working with multinational, in Kosovo, NATO allies and partners, that's really critical, I think, to our success. As a leader of the world, as a leader, as the greatest military in the world, we do need our allies and partners. We're unique, I think, the Hawaii Army National Guard, because of our culture here. I think it's easier for us to actually connect with people. And, when we arrived in Kosovo, it was somewhat natural to actually, go and engage and talk to, whoever we needed to talk to, the stakeholders. We were given, specific tasks from General Cavoli, who was the, USAREF commander. Hey, go do this X, Y, and Z. Go see the ambassador in North Macedonia. Go see, connect with the, ambassador in Pristina. And I need you to actually go to Serbia and, talk to all these people. With, I think, again, with our culture here in Hawaii, it's truly easy for us to connect with people. And, the result of that deployment, it's a resounding success. We were actually somewhat made for that mission. And we made a lot of friends. And I'll tell you, strategically too, we made a difference in that part of the world. We were there on the 20th anniversary of Operation Joint Guardian. And it was also the year, they used to call it FIREM, before, their current name, North Macedonia. They were actually putting a packet together to apply for NATO. And one of our biggest tasks was to actually train with them so that we can help them join NATO. We did all that. And it was a lot of work, but it was very satisfying. Because I tell you, after we came back, a year later, I was driving to work, in a Pentagon, and I heard on the radio that North Macedonia got assessed into NATO. And it gave me I kind of smiled and chuckled, like, wow. Yeah, there's a corridor in the Pentagon where, they have it's the NATO corridor. They have the flags, and every time I walk down that corridor, and I see the North Macedonian flag, I'm like,
I helped
I
with that.
kind of, we had a great team too for that deployment.
How many people from the Hawaii National Guard went on that one?
It was the headquarters, so it was over 400. Multinational, so it's the Multinational Battle Group East. We had about 1,000 total. So we had, from the NATO countries, we had, Turkish company, we had the Romanians, we had, Poland, the Italians, and it was just a, combination of a lot of, just great people. We were very, very successful because I think we created a culture there that everybody was just collaborating and just working. Yeah, we fit right in.
I also assume that you guys fit right in when you took the battalion to Iraq. Anything that you learned or shaped in that area or your experiences?
For OAF.
Yes.
Yeah, for OAF, yeah, kind of the same thing. I was a captain. I got promoted right before we deployed, so I was a major, right? And we got on the ground. They made me the camp commander too for Port of Shueva, where all the equipment came in. And working with different people, it's the same formula. It's about people. It's about developing deep connections and relationship, and just having the trust and mutual respect with people.
So it sounds like your 3Ms got applied
Yes.
through the deployments and later on in your career.
Very applicable in life in general. It's 3M, but now I tell people, I sit down and when I mentor young officers, young soldiers, and even people like I talk to them, I sit down.
Is this your 10-year plan talk?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what?
Yeah.
I heard about this 10-year plan and your advice and you being a mentor. Definitely, can you go into the details of what the 3Ms evolved to and what is this 10-year plan?
Okay, a 10-year plan. I also call it your life on a spreadsheet. So normally people, hey sir, I need I need advice. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go sit down, have coffee. So I talk to them. I go, all right, tell me what's going on. Okay, I listen and I go, all right, here's what you need to do. I need you to create a spreadsheet. 10 years out, where you are in life, right? Put your age, right? How long you've been serving, right? Your number of years. If you're AGR, put, active federal service. And on there too, put all your kids and their ages, right? Also put your wife, right? Her age and where she is in her career, right? So you can actually have this massive spreadsheet, right? You build it, and I tell them, okay, now you look at 10 years out, right? How does it look like? What do you see, right? Project out 5 years. What does that look like, right? So what I'm trying to do when I talk to people and have them create this is to actually look at the milestone along the way, right? And this is something I've been doing since I was a captain. I sat down in now they call it Captain's Career Course, right?
Yeah.
So it's the IDP, but I kind of tweaked it on my own on how I actually do this, right? Because it actually clarifies your your goals. And when you actually look at it and you finalize this spreadsheet, your life on a spreadsheet, it actually guides you, right? So these are the things that's going to happen, you kind of know, right? If you look at, what's going to happen in, 5 years, 10 years, you kind of make assumptions too, right? Here's an example. So I just did one, right? I sat down, I'm retiring, right? I just turned, I 53 years old, right? 10 years, 10 years I'll be 63, right? Chloe is now 13, my daughter, right? She is in the 8th grade, right? Benny, we're kind of about the same age, right? So I fast forward, I envision 5 years out, right? Chloe's in the 8th grade, she'll be finished in high school. I know for a fact that's what's gonna, with high probability, that's what's gonna happen. 5 more years, she should be done with college, right? So big milestones, right? I'm retiring, right? 63, I'm thinking, okay, I'll be eligible for Social Security, right? And, the plan now, I look out, 63 years old, I think we're positioned well enough where we're going to be, we're going to be retired, I think. We can get into the concept of retirement later because I got a different perspective on retirement.
Okay.
Yeah, retirement I think it's an illusion. When people hear retirement, it's just, there's like a finality to it.
It's a falling off a cliff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not. It is not. But like a lot of people think about it that way. But going back to the 10-year plan, right? So with that example, right? Just looking at Chloe, right? It's all the important milestones that we need to make sure we support, right? And so, a lot of things that we do, right, or I do, supports those milestones. Now, when I was a major, right, I put the things I needed to do in order to advance my career, right?
So schools,
promotion. So, I just got promoted to a major. Minimum time in grade is this, right? What do I need to do to make sure I'm competitive to be a lieutenant colonel, right? Here's a lieutenant colonel, minimum time in grade is 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, right? What PME do I need, right? No, well, I got to get those done, right? Because if you look at the requirements in the Army, it's all there.
It's laid out for you.
Right. So a lot of it is laid out for you, but a lot of people just kind of like just go through life. It's day to day, right? It is absolutely worth your time to actually sit down, and think through things sometimes. And that's always a way for me, to actually put a 10-year plan together. I did one when I was like a major. There were a lot of details on that thing, right, and a lot of assumptions. And for the most part, I would execute things so that I can get to those milestones and goals. Now that's part one, right?
Right.
So I actually tell them to do it, right? Part two, I go, I'll give you 2 weeks, right? And come back and see me. They come back and see me, we discuss things. I go, all right, well, you're looking at that, right? Okay, that's a good milestone. Okay, that's not realistic, right? So, part of mentoring is like telling people what's in the realm of possibility.
That's right.
Right? So, it's a way to actually help people kind of, be realistic in their goals. So, yeah, that's the 10-year plan. I keep it, with me. I sit down with the family. It's a family meeting. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It yearly or, when something, significant changes, that plan changes. And, that also changes with, significant things like, retirement, right? Um, you know, I when I pinned on my second star, I actually projected it out.
Were you pretty close?
Very close, yeah. Um, when I was a colonel, I actually had my retirement packet because that I was a comptroller, and that was a good launching point for me to do other things. I had 22 years active out of service. Um, you know, I calculated where, hey, we already have passive income, right? You know, you got 22 years, you got, you know, what is that, 55% of whatever you're making, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you get, you know, another, you know, job, you know, that would actually bring more resources for, you know, your family. So you got to also put that into the equation, you know what you're doing and how, you know, you're bringing the resources in, you know, time and resources into whatever, you know, you're trying to achieve.
It's not
as
just a
family.
note. It is a true guide for life.
Yes. Yeah.
So it assists family, assists military. It's an organized way to look down and see it on paper.
Yes.
And thought it was interesting you bring your family into it because, you know, they're, I guess, rows on this
Yes.
on this spreadsheet.
Because it's not just you.
Right.
It's, you know, when you're serving, the family is serving, right? And that's, you know, family is, for me, you know, family is, you know, my priority, top priority, nothing else.
Did you go over any of the changes or in your life when you had options? It was a family decision,
Yes.
a lot of
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yes. Well, coming back, right? Coming back to, you know, when I was a colonel, right? Coming out of the comptroller position. Um, you know, here I am, you know, pushing hard, comptroller. Got 22 years. I gotta tell you, I was tired. I was tired. And put my packet together. The plan was to actually retire. And, you know, I got a call from General Logan and had a conversation with General Hara.
Which General Logan?
Oh,
Arthur?
Joe
Stephen?
Joe
Joe.
Joe
Arthur,
Logan,
okay,
right?
okay.
The other Logan, and General Hara, and he goes, "Hey, you know, somebody told me you're retiring." It's like, "Yeah, yes, sir. You know, I got to do other things, and you know, I'm gonna pursue some opportunities, and I think, you know, I think it's time." And he goes, "Maybe not, right? You know, hey, there's gonna be, you know, an opportunity here for, you know, the brigade command, the 29 IBCT." And I go, "Okay." Well, he basically, you know, throw your name in there, right? So I go, "Okay." So I did, and you know, I was selected. I was, you know, very fortunate. I got selected. When I got selected, you know, I kind of like hinted to my wife that potentially, you know, we might go back to Hawaii. I think she was kind of, you know, a toss-up because, you know, we were on this path of retiring and doing other great things. My daughter was 5 years old, and so I got selected. Went home, had a family meeting.
That's right.
We talked it through, and I always ask 3 questions, you know, through this conversation. You know, is it good for my career, right? Being a BCT commander, yeah, absolutely, right. Is it good for the organization? Yeah, yes, I would actually, you know, do my best and, you know, make a difference, you know, in the organization. But I think more importantly, the question is it good for the family, right? That was the question. Now, if I had all yes in those 3 questions, yeah, it's a resounding yes, right? The family question, you know, is it good for the family? That was kind of a conversation, because I would retire and, you know, do other things, and, you know, we would do well. But one of the the key things that we looked at was Chloe was 5 years old, and we wanted her to have a stronger connection with Hawaii, and Benny's parents, my wife, they were fully retired, and my parents were fully retired, and Chloe was 5 years old, and so she was old enough to actually, create memories with her grandparents, and to us that was important. Now the brigade deployed 2013, 2014, right? So this was 2017, right? I go, maybe there's a couple more years. We come back, I'll be home station command, I'll be the AO for brigade. It'll be great. It'll be great. Just enjoying Hawaii, right? I came back, and I think our deployment, warning order came in. I was like, holy Christ, they're going to deploy the whole brigade.
So you need another family meeting.
Yes. Yeah, but, we didn't mind because, family is here in Hawaii. And, we deployed, and that was 2017 and 2018. That was a very busy year. I mean, we had the Kauai floods. The volcano started erupting. There were a lot. And then we were trying to deploy all the units, including the Arizona Battalion, Guam, the entire brigade, right? We were sending people to Afghanistan. We were sending people to MFO. 47 had to go, do the CRAM mission. They had to go. It was kind of like a little bit different. They had to go to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, kind of like relearn things. It was a lot. It was interesting because my wife, I came home one day, and she goes, "Man, I thought we were gonna see you more here. Like, this is worse than you being the comptroller for the Army National Guard." I'm like, "Yeah,
Sorry, babe.
yep, sorry."
When you talked about you mentoring people, but how did mentorship on you help your career?
Yeah, big, big part of it. In this business, you can't be successful alone. You got people. You will meet people along the way. I actually collect good people, right? Surround yourself with good people, and I put them in this thing called the golden sphere, right? Put them all here.
The circle of trust.
Circle of trust,
Yes.
golden sphere.
Okay.
No, well, I believe I can. Like, this is my belief. I think I can learn from anybody, right? Everybody has something to offer, right? So it didn't matter if they were my superiors or, they were subordinates or my peers. Like, you can always learn from somebody. Just be humble, right? I think, when you surround yourself with good people, you can't go wrong. You just can't go wrong with all the support. When you develop like deep relationship, right? You build trust, right? And trust comes respect, right? Mutual respect. With those two, it becomes, loyalty, right? You're loyal to them, they're loyal to you, and, they help you become successful. And a lot of great mentors along the way. Even some of the lower enlisted guys, like, in a way, they mentored me, right? Again, going back to this, deployment in Kosovo, the millennials, right? I look at them, I was like, wow, I was actually amazed. Like, you hear a lot about the millennials and how they operate. I'll tell you, I'm encouraged for the future. A lot of bright people out there. Different, right? But then again, each generation is different, right? But, mentorship, I think, goes both ways. It was a very big part of my success.
Definitely sounds like it.
Yeah.
So we talked about you being from Hawaii and how it helped you in different situations, but you're also a Tagalog speaker. And so how did that background influence your ability to connect with other soldiers and people?
Yeah, growing up in Hawaii, you're taught, about, the ohana, right? And that culture, just respecting people, be respectful, respect your elders, the basic things, right? You know that alone, I think, actually growing up that way enabled me to be, successful as a leader, because I go back to people, and I describe my leadership style as people centric. I always focus on the people, because I think if you take care of the people as a leader, the rest will take care of itself. I think, growing up in Hawaii, it's kind of like instilled in you. So for me, going through my career, it was actually easy for me to like connect with people. I can talk to anybody. In a Pentagon, as a general officer, they don't like you walking around by yourself, right? But I sometimes I just walk around by myself. I run away from my aides, and they're looking for me somewhere. Like they're going to office to office, but I go out. I go to the people. I go to the cubicles. Just kind of like talk story with them. It's like, oh, okay.
So for somebody from Hawaii, they have this basic skill, and you're saying that's applicable to anything, whether they go military or not. But people from Hawaii should take advantage of that.
Yes, yeah,
And it really
absolutely.
works.
Because it's all in us. If you grew up in Hawaii, it's you can connect with anybody. I think because again, we showed up in Kosovo, and like, okay, well, what's the plan, sir? I told the staff, like, we're here to make friends. This is a peacekeeping operation, and we made friends, and it was just, I think it was just easy. We had a luau. We had a great time. If you ever talk to the people that deployed, they're still talking about it. It helps too, as as the headquarters. So we were the battle group. I was the battle group commander, and it helps when you make the rules, right?
Yeah, yes, it does.
And one of the rules we actually put in place was there's certain manning levels, right? But we had everybody just, hey, as long as you had a certain level of manning, you guys can take leave. And our soldiers would be booking flights from Pristina to Paris. They would fly to 4-day leave, Bucharest. I mean, you name it. Like, you have a lot of these Hawaii guys just running around Europe, and we had a great time. And I think we made a whole lot of difference there. We brought aloha in the Balkans. I mean, like, that's pretty cool.
That is, and it's all captured. You guys have newsletters, and it's all over Divids, the stories, and your interactions. So it's forever captured. Now, your most recent role as a special assistant to the director, Army National Guard for Manpower and Reserve Affairs. One, can you explain exactly what that is,
Right.
and what changes have you seen in the National Guard as we develop and manage our people?
Yeah. Actually, my position, that's a position where they park people. I actually serve in the Army Secretariat. So I'm the senior military advisor for the Assistant Secretary of the Army, Manpower Reserve Affairs. I'm also the director for Training Readiness Mobilization on the Secretariat side that provides oversight of the G357 of the Army. So anything with Training Readiness Mobilization. On top of that, I'm the Reserve Affairs guy of Manpower Reserve Affairs. So anything Reserve Affairs was actually in my portfolio. So I've been there 3 years. in that position. In the last 3 years, Department of Defense, Department of War, the services, the Army National Guard Bureau, we are in the middle of a huge transformation. A lot of changes. I think this year, we really stepped on the gas, right? Acceleration of a lot of things that we want to do in terms of transformation and modernization. For Hawaii National Guard, Hawaii Army National Guard, in order to be relevant, we need to make sure, we are at a forefront of this transformation. We need to be engaged in the operations too at the same time. So, we need to make sure we continue to build readiness, and make sure we support the transformation. Because if you look at what's happening now, just the technology alone. If you look at the technology, our capabilities are going to change, and it's hard, right? When you're doing a enterprise-wide, army-wide changes in a lot of the things that you do. Doctrine is going to change. How we fight is going to change. So, the nature of warfare never change, right? Our job is to, if needed, right? We need to go in there and eliminate, destroy things, right? But the character of war is changing. Think World War I, right? The invention of tanks, right? The invention of the machine gun, right? That Napoleonic way of fighting, right? It's kind of like that in a way. There's parallel to it. You think about drones, right? It's a flying IED. It's kind of transforming into this new way of fighting. So, for Hawaii Army National Guard and National Guard and the Army as a whole, we need to make sure we keep our manning, because we need people, right? The Army is people-centric. We need to make sure they're trained, in all these technology and equipment that we have, and we need to be ready. So, we got to put all that together so that, we can continue to defend the Constitution.
It's great to hear that from the level you are at, because that's what our tag and our leadership is spreading down. Is readiness is prime. If we maintain readiness, then other things can happen. Taking care of your people, going to schools, taking care of your family. So it's nice to hear what's at the top and what's supposed to be coming down is actually coming down, because that's what the Hawaii Guard is going through right now. Wanted to get into now the second half, or third half of your life.
Yeah.
Third section.
Third.
What role, and you've talked about it briefly, has your family played throughout your career? We're talking the 10-year plan. You have the meetings. How important was that to you?
Oh, very important. They are the purpose of my life. Everything I do is for the family. Top priority is always family. Serving in the Army, sometimes the priorities kind of conflict, because you gotta be out there. And I meant what I said earlier. As a service member, as a soldier, serving, it's not just you serving; it's your entire family that's serving. My family, my wife, Benny, she makes it easy for me to do the things I need to do. I mean, I don't think I could have done what I did in my career without her. And she's been there since the beginning. Yeah, basic training, she wrote me a letter every day,
Oh my goodness.
every single day. So every single day in basic training, I had a letter. I paid for it though. Did a lot of
Yeah,
push-ups.
you do push-ups for each letter. That's right. That's right. As you step into retirement now, and you've mentioned it, but you didn't mention what's going to happen for you. What comes next? What's on your 10-year plan?
Yeah. Well, that's a very good question. Right now, I'm actually I tell people I'm treating it as a movement to contact, right? So in DC, it's kind of strange. My retirement's out there now; it's public, right? And you know, there are a lot of opportunities in DC. Well, we answered the first question. Are you guys going back to Hawaii or staying in the mainland? Unfortunately, we gotta stay in the mainland because it's good for the family.
It's a family.
It's a family thing. Chloe is in the 8th grade, and she already picked out what high school she's gonna go through. Right now, she goes to a small Catholic school right outside Quantico, the base, and she elected to go to continue in a Catholic school. So I'm very proud of her. Yeah, I think I'm looking at the 10-year plan. Within that 10 years, I'm gonna do something, and I think the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. I am very optimistic on the future. It's good to have options. That's a good outlook. But part of it too, because I actually have a lot of skill set. If I look at my career, it's very balanced. I can do. I was the G1, so I can do personnel. I know money very well. I know operations. I'm kind of like, I can go to so many things. I think I'm gonna find something that, not necessarily for the compensation, but I'm more focused on the purpose of that.
How it makes you feel,
Yeah.
what you can do as far as influencing.
Yes. So, I'm retiring. I'm transitioning. I don't like that word, retiring. I'm transitioning out of the military. But I'm not retiring from trying to make a difference in people's lives and to the people around me. Because I think I still got, a little bit
More
of
to give.
Yes, more to give. So I'm gonna try my best.
Well, it seems like you influenced at every level you went to, as an enlisted, battalion, brigade, harangue. We talked about a lot today, and you got to share a lot. Is there anything that you wanted to share that I didn't ask about? Any one last message? Do you have any advice for like a young guardsman looking to stay in? What would you like to impart on them?
Yeah, 3 things. It's always 3 things, right?
Right?
3 things. So condense it, and it's actually tied to the 3 M's. And it's 1, just be a good person. Be a good person. When you think through that, it's a simple statement, right? Be a good person, but sometimes it's hard, right? To be a good person, be a good teammate, help people right around you, be collaborative. Just you're part of a team. You're in the Army. It's a big team. It's special because you're part of bigger purpose. So just be a good person. Do all the right things. Especially when nobody's watching. Do the right things. Be a good person. Second is do your best in everything that you do, not just in the military, but your life, right? If you're not doing your best in something that you're doing, well, maybe you shouldn't be doing it, right? It has to tie to some kind of purpose. So do your best. But you know what's better? Do more than what's expected. And you'll be successful, right? And the last thing I'm gonna share is, you know, make sure, right? Make sure you take care of yourself, right, as a person. Take care of all the aspect of your life. You know, you gotta take care of yourself educationally, financially, you know, physically, mentally, you know, all the illities, right? You know, you gotta take care of yourself, because if you don't, right, you know, how are you gonna take care of the organization? How are you gonna lead if you can't even take care of yourself, right? At some point, if you don't take care of yourself, you know, you're non-mission capable, and you become a liability, right? And you don't want that. So, I think it's almost you know, counterintuitive sometimes. It's even, you know, especially in the army, right? That culture, right? Mm-hmm. Take care of others, but you know, the one thing you got to do is to make sure you take care of yourself. So.
That is great advice. Thank you so much for being with us today. Major General Macaraeg, you have a retirement ceremony, but after that you will transition to your next life out of the military. Congratulations.
Jeff, thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the NACO Exchange, Boots, Wings, and More. This was our longest podcast by far, but it has incredible points, and we're really going to edit the hell out of this one, sir. You're going to have graphics. I would love to see a sample of your 10-year plan, and we'll include it in the video. But thank you very much for joining us. Aloha.